All right, thank you, Steve. A local television news legend passed away last night. Don Decker was news director here at WRGB for 17 years during the real growth spurt of local TV news. He was only on the air briefly, so you may not have known his face, but I assure you, Don Decker changed the way you watch local news, infusing it with accuracy, urgency, meaning, and most especially, heart.
Can you pick out from the many, many letters you receive?
WRGB reporter Don Decker interviewing one of the country's most famous women in the early 60s. That's advice columnist Ann Landers sitting under that hairdryer.
Probably the most humorous one is from the man who wrote from Fargo, North Dakota.
Don was more likely, though, to cover everyday events like a groundbreaking at SPAC.
This stage band festival.
Or these high school musicians rehearsing for a concert. 30 years later, he talked about what it meant for a young radio news guy from Amsterdam to hit the big time.
Yeah, I was working at WGY Radio in Troy when I was hired to come here, and oh, absolutely, that was for me, it was a phenomenal opportunity.
It was most certainly the golden age of local television news, and Don Decker was squarely in the middle. He started with what was then GE Broadcasting as a weekend news anchor for WGY Radio and WRGB-TV in 1962. He moved behind the scenes as assignment editor and producer, and all that experience eventually led him to the news director's job in 1968. 5 years later, he was overseeing the first-hour newscast in area history.
And it was the smallest market in the country to do a one-hour newscast. There were people who said there wasn't enough news for an hour.
During Don's years running the news operation at WRGB, the station dominated local news.
We were a combined newsroom of WGY and WRGB, which was another reason why this was such a powerful operation, because everybody who worked for radio worked for television and vice versa.
He was being modest. Don had an eye for talent, an obsession with accuracy, and a heart as big as they come. That hour newscast led him to hire a number of new people, including a young weekend sportscaster who never forgot his faith in her or the lessons in journalism he taught her. He left WRGB in 1987 after a quarter-century and went on to WAMC Radio and WTEN before retiring in 1993. Funeral arrangements are still incomplete. There is no doubt that Don's legacy will live on. We send our deepest, heartfelt sympathy to his family and thank them for sharing Don with us for all those years.